So you're itching to get a business up and running. You've got bags of enthusiasm, great ideas, and can't wait to start putting in the work. But there's one thing holding you back. You've got no money. Well, as you're about to see, no problem. Welcome to Alux.com, the place where future billionaires come to get inspired. If you're not subscribed yet, you're missing out. Don't believe us? Well, we're going to give you our pick of businesses that started out with no or practically no money. Because you don't need cash equity when you can use the best kind of equity there is, putting in the sweat and hard work together with a great idea. As Mark Cuban puts it, sweat equity is always the best equity, and it can beat VC equity by a long shot because unlike bringing in a venture capitalist, when you bootstrap it, you don't give away control of a large part of your business. So let's dive in and take a look at who has done this successfully. Number 1. Nasty Gal. First up, here's one to show you that sometimes you don't even need any specialized knowledge. If you know your product well and have a passion for it, you can start a successful business from flipping stuff, just like Nasty Gal founder Sophia Amoruso did. Back in 2006, she was broke and needed a way of paying her bills. She hit on the idea of finding vintage clothes in thrift stores and reselling them at markup prices. She kept her inventory in her bedroom, found customers through her MySpace account, and sold them on her eBay store, Nasty Gal Vintage. Yep, it's got bootstrapping written all over it. Nasty Gal ended up doing quite a bit more than just helping Sophia pay her bills. With its edgy style, it soon went viral. She moved off eBay onto her own site and moved her inventory from her bedroom into a warehouse. Since then, she's been on the cover of Forbes and released her autobiography, #Girlboss, which was later adapted into a Netflix series. Number 2. Quest Nutrition. In some cases, you can manufacture a product and sell it without any previous experience in the field. That's exactly what Tom Bilyeu did. He just lost his well-paid marketing job, and even more importantly, he'd also lost 60 pounds and wanted to help some overweight family members do the same. That explains his interest in fitness and nutrition, and how he realized there was a market for making protein bars. When he saw how much it could cost to buy the equipment for making the bars, he built it all himself in his kitchen. To get the word out, he sent handwritten letters along with protein bars to fitness influencers. In the first 2 years, Quest Nutrition made close to $10 million. Since then, they've moved into e-commerce before moving into retail and have branched out into protein powder, pasta, and more. Number 3. Shutterstock. Of course, having a specialist skill will help. And if you happen to have 2 skill sets you can combine and turn into a great idea, well, the sky's the limit. Just look at Shutterstock founder, software developer, and amateur photographer John Oringer. He didn't have the cash to start his business, but he did have another kind of equity, a heck ton of high-quality photos that he'd taken. Knowing any kind of business needs good quality HD photos to promote it, he took 30,000 photos from his personal photo library and then used his software skills to create a subscription-based stock photo service. Soon, other photographers were contributing, and Shutterstock became a go-to for marketers looking for images. Facebook now uses it in its ad creation tool, and it's worth over $2 billion. Number 4. Craigslist. When it comes to skills that can really help you start a business without capital, programming is high up there. We'll see this in a few examples, including this one where the light bulb idea happened by accident. In the early days of the internet, to be specific, back in 1995, Craig Newmark had just arrived in the San Francisco Bay Area and wanted a way to connect people and spread the word about local events. Yep, remember there was no Facebook at the time. He created a page to list what was going on in San Francisco. Pretty soon, everyone in town was using it and wanted to pay for classified ad space on there. That meant a revenue stream that he hadn't even planned for. Craig called the page San Francisco Events, but its users started calling it Craigslist. And well, you don't need us to tell you where Craigslist is now, but if you really want us to, it's one of the USA's top 20 websites with revenue of over $1 billion a year. Number 5. Shopify. Back in 2004, Tobias Lutka and Scott Lake wanted to build an online snowboard store. They looked at a bunch of software systems but couldn't find anything that hit the mark. problems included bad user experience and not being able to customize the background. It just so happened that Tobias was a software engineer, so he used his skills to do it himself and build the software he wanted. He created a user-friendly interface for merchants who had never sold online before, and yes, he made sure you could customize the background. The site was a huge hit with other users. Tobias and Scott realized that instead of selling snowboards, they could make a better business out of helping other people sell online. Nowadays, Shopify hosts over 300,000 shops for individual sellers and generates over $20 million in revenue a month. Now, if you're thinking of setting up the world's biggest e-commerce platform, you may have some serious competition. Tobias and Scott already did that, remember? But if you want to set up your own online store to sell something you've made yourself, goods you want to flip, or drop ship, here at Alux, we definitely recommend Shopify. We've been partners with them for years, so why not check out what they have to offer at Alux.com/sell and take the first step in getting your online business up and running, hassle-free. Number 6. Quizlet. For any high school students watching, thinking about graduating and then starting up your own business, we've got one question. Why wait until then? It sure didn't stop 15-year-old Andrew Sutherland back in 2005. To be fair, Andrew didn't actually plan on founding one of the world's best-known study apps. He just wanted to pass his French exams and memorize those long vocabulary lists his teacher was giving him. Luckily, Andrew's computing knowledge was well above his French vocab. Yep, programming once again. So he built a website to display flashcards and test himself in a fun way. Soon enough, he was acing his tests, and once he started telling his classmates about it, so were they. Even the teachers loved Quizlet, and the word spread. In 2011, Andrew dropped out of college to work on it full-time, and it now has over 50 million users. Number 7. Ipsy. Time for another way of getting a business up in the air from day one. Build an online community. Once you've done that, you have an audience to sell to without any marketing fees. Case in point, makeup artist and YouTuber Michelle Phan. In 2011, her channel had 8 million subscribers eagerly watching her makeup tutorials. That meant a nice advertising revenue for Michelle, but she figured, why stop there? So she founded a makeup subscription service, Ipsy, selling beauty product samples in monthly glam bags for $10. They were an immediate hit with her fan base, and she turned a profit from it straight away. It now has over 3 million subscribers and over $500 million a year in revenue. Number 8. CoolMiniOrNot. What if your hobby's not quite as fashionable as Michelle's, kind of geeky even? Well, if there are enough people into it, you can totally build a fan base and then use it to start a business. That's exactly what CoolMiniOrNot proved. CoolMiniOrNot, abbreviated to Come On. Yep, cool acronyms never hurt. Started out as a website where Dungeons & Dragons gamers showed off their painted figurines and gave each other feedback on their skills with a paintbrush. It became a hit in the role-playing game community, and its founders thought, why not come up with their own games? They used Kickstarter campaigns to fund the games, which means they didn't need any money down up front as they'd already raised it. Since then, they've raised $20 million from over 20 Kickstarter campaigns. Number 9. Lynda. If you've got information to share and that people will find useful, a great way to start a business for a low budget is online courses, and one of the first people to do that was Lynda Weinman. In the 90s, she was teaching web design. All the technical books on the market were poor, so she began producing materials herself. It started with a book, Designing Web Graphics, considered to be the first of its kind. And when Lynda figured out the domain name Lynda with a Y was available, she paid $35 for it. In 2002, she started using it to publish training films for her students, and it eventually turned into a huge content library. And it didn't need outside investment until 11 years later, and eventually, LinkedIn bought it for $1.5 billion. Number 10. AdaFruit. In 2005, MIT student Lemur Fried should have been working on her thesis. Instead, she was procrastinating. But we've got to admit, procrastination doesn't get any more productive than this. A big electronics enthusiast, she was building a portable music player from components. Her classmates started asking how they could build their own. Lemur saw the potential and put together electronics starter kits for them, made from off-the-shelf components. That was the start of electronics hobbyist company AdaFruit, named after Ada Lovelace, who's credited as the world's first ever computer programmer. Lemur made the smart move of producing content that made electronics DIY fun. Yep, online course once again, and AdaFruit now makes over $30 million a year. Number 11. Scentsy. What if you have a great product but can't afford to spend loads on Facebook ads? Well, we've already mentioned a few products that started out by word of mouth, but if the product gets people talking, there are other ways to get the word of mouth to spread faster, and in this case, multi-level marketing. Scentsy began in 2003 with the idea of aromatic candles and decorative warmers with wax that melts from the heat of a light bulb, not a flame. But it was when they hit on the idea of using multi-level marketing, selling directly to customers at home parties, that things really took off. Now there are over 130,000 independent Scentsy consultants worldwide and over $450 million in annual sales. Number 12. Mailchimp. Just to show how far computer skills can get you, our last few examples all involve programming. You might know Mailchimp as the service that brings you newsletters at your work, and it all started in 2000 when its founder and CEO Ben Chestnut was running a design consulting business. He was getting overloaded with requests from clients asking for personalized email newsletters, and creating them wasn't his favorite job. So to spare himself and his team the trouble, he built a tool to create the newsletters for them. That was Mailchimp, now a $400 million business. Number 13. PlentyofFish. Yep, you can start a dating site with next to no money. That's exactly what Marcus Friend did in his apartment. His motivation wasn't even to start a lucrative business. He only wanted to improve his resume and to get the grips on ASP.NET, a programming language that had just come out. He himself said it was a side project that just got really big, and he didn't look for VC funding, partly because he didn't even know what a VC was until it was already making millions. And the company, which makes money through online ads, was making millions before he even hired a team. In 2015, he sold it for $575 million to Match Group, which also owns other dating sites, Match.com, OkCupid, and Tinder. Number 14. GoFundMe. Yup, ironic, isn't it? In a cool way. The most popular online platform for getting funding, whether that's starting a business, getting your car fixed, or paying for college tuition, wasn't actually funded. Instead, its co-founders Brad Damphouse and Andrew Ballister bootstrapped their company, and it's now worth $600 million. In its early days, Damphouse and Ballister built software that would raise money for charitable causes and make a profit by taking a small cut of the funds raised. It also leveraged Facebook and other social media to find people to make donations. And being on Facebook, word soon spread. It's now the biggest fundraising platform there is. Number 15. eBay. Another huge company that started out as a side hobby for its founder, Pierre Omidyar. And it was only when his internet service provider told him he had to update his account due to a high volume of traffic he was receiving that he began charging people to use his site. Omidyar's motivation wasn't to make money, but from lofty principles, namely the idea that only when everyone has access to the same information will markets be fair, and Pierre decided to use the internet to make sure this could happen. And about 6 months after he founded it, after noticing people complaining about purchases, he came up with one of eBay's other game-changing ideas, the Feedback Forum. eBay is now worth over $30 billion. So, Aluxers, which of these stories do you find the most inspiring? Let us know in the comments. Now, of course, since you stuck with us until the end, we owe you a bonus. Here it is. Apple. Hey, Lux, are you serious? The world's biggest computer company started off with no money? Well, you could say it's a small exaggeration, which is why we put it in the bonus, but only a small one, and depending on which way you look at it. Way back, Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak had big plans to build and sell personal computers, but to get their first one off the ground, they just had one problem. You guessed it, no money. What they did have, as well as know-how, vision, and drive in the bucket loads, was Wozniak's HP calculator and Jobs' Volkswagen van. They sold these and then used the $1,500 to fund their first computer, the Apple I. They also bootstrapped it by making it in Steve Jobs' garage. The Apple I made them $774,000 off a tiny investment. The rest, as they say, is history. Thanks for watching, Aluxers. Remember to subscribe for more great content, and we always appreciate your thumbs up.